right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning into the Sports Card Therapist, where I give you a behind the scenes look at my hobby hustle and sprinkle in some self care and wellness on top of that. I'm Rob Gerard, your Sports Card Therapist. And whether if you're listening to me on iTunes, Spotify, or watching me on YouTube, welcome to the pod. Man, oh man, National 2022 Atlantic City. It's a wrap. If you got there, I hope you enjoyed yourself. If you did not get there, listen, it's not the end of the world. There's always next year. I know that there were a lot of people that were not able to come, just because of the logistics of Atlantic City and everything like that. But I had quite an amazing experience. I only went for Saturday. I was only there on Saturday, July 30th, but I was there from before it started and I was there until after it ended, set up as a dealer. And let me just say, I've been seeing stuff on Instagram today, right? First of all, from what I heard, Sunday was completely dead, right? I mean, half the dealers are packing up and leaving. Everyone's kind of come and gone, whatever the case. But I've been hearing stuff like, just like, oh, National wasn't as good this year, and I'm glad I didn't go, or this and that. It seems like a lot of people have opinions on it. What I will say is, I do know for a fact that the National attendance was down, but there's a couple reasons for that. First of all, when you look at it from last year, yes, it's down because last year was at the height of the boom. Also, last year it was right in the middle of America in Chicago, Illinois, Rosemont. So you were very you were kind of close to everything if you think about it. So I think when it comes to and my buddy and I, Ken, Sports Card Lessons, we were having this conversation after Saturday talking about how when you have a national in Atlantic City, there's a good chance that you lose a lot of the West Coast. Right, you lose a lot of the West Coast because logistically, just going to Atlantic City is tough. So it's not like going right into New York City, or it's not like flying right into Dallas or something like that. Atlantic City is a little bit different. But anyways, I had an amazing time, and I cannot wait to get into it. I feel like I'm probably definitely going to miss a lot of what I want to say because, I don't have anything written down. I don't have any kind of notes, bullet points, anything. But I want to talk about some of the deals I made. I want to talk about some of the people I saw, good, the bad, the ugly of the show, basically. So strap in, stay tuned, because here we go. I'm probably going to be talking about National for the next few weeks on this podcast. After I went to National last year in Rosemont, Illinois, really it just felt like there was a few weeks of content afterward where it wasn't talking about the same thing regarding National, but I think it was definitely just kind of processing everything because it's a lot to process. If you've never been to National, it is absolutely enormous. It's easy to get lost. It's just massive. It's really hard to see everything in one day. And they say if you want to find a card, it'll be at National. And if it's not at National, it doesn't exist. I don't know if I would go that far as saying that, but I will say that really anything you wanted was likely in that room. So I was excited to get down there. I knew a lot of people were going. I knew some people weren't going, and that was sad because it was some friends, some people I wanted to see, some people that I've met over the course of the last year that I was really hoping to see that I didn't get to see. And because I only went on Saturday, I did kind of handicap myself because there were people that went for the beginning portion of the week. They came in on Wednesday, Thursday, maybe Friday, and they were gone by the weekend because the weekend is Saturday is really going to be the absolute busiest day of that show. So let me tell you something. Friday night, the night before I was going to National setup, I could not sleep. I was tossing and turning in bed. Listen, I'm someone that the second my head hits the pillow, my wife says it all the time. She's like, I hate you. You can go to bed at the drop of a dime. And I could not fall asleep, tossing and turning for 2 hours. I got as much sleep as I could, but I was so excited to get there. My alarm went off at 4:30 in the morning because I'm in Connecticut. Atlantic City is typically a 2.5 to 3 hour drive from here, from where I am, depending on what traffic is like, So alarm went off for 4:30. My car was already packed up from the night before. So jumped in my car, got my coffee, exceptional coffee, by the way, and jumped in the car, man. And I was able to make it there in just about 2.5 hours. So I left at actually no, I took, I stopped. I was making such good time. I stopped. I got gas again. That way I wasn't going to have to stop on the way home. So filled up my tank when I was close to Atlantic City, stopped, used the bathroom, got some snacks like some almonds, things like that. Got some Advil because I was like, I don't know how much I'm going to be hurting. So it's like, I had a lot of things packed already as far as like food, a big thing of water and stuff like that. But anyway, so get to National, get parking because I was there relatively early. I was able to get decent parking, loaded up my cart, wheeled my cart in. There was already a ton of people outside outside in the lobby, so called up my buddy who I was going to be setting up with, and he came and met me immediately, gave me my dealer badge for the day, and I was able to go in. And so I was already kind of sweaty from being outside in the parking garage loading up at like 8 a.m. It was pretty humid outside. It was really humid outside, actually. So it was weird because I stopped sweating like the second I got into the actual convention center, but my shirt just must have retained the sweat. People, I had my buddy, I think it was Ryan at Reservoir Sports Cards, was like, man, that shirt looks like a color blast, because it was a gray shirt, but they were kind of like sweat stains on it. So it was like, man, that shirt looks like a color blast. But listen, I practice great hygiene. I loaded up on the deodorant. So I had plenty of deodorant, antiperspirant on, gum, that whole nine, fully hydrated, all that good stuff. So I'm setting up. We're right across from Rick Probstein in his booth and my buddy Nick at the Slab Exchange, and I'm feeling good. So and my case basically consisted of my bottom row of cards were basically like, I brought all my big boys. I brought all my big cards because even though I have no intention on selling these cards, and this is something that we've talked about. We talked about last week on last episode when Chris and Josh were on, and Chris talked about from Card Ladder about how it's kind of like a controversial topic. Like sometimes people will literally, like, they've had tables forever at National and they'll bring cards there that they have no intention in selling, like an entire case. They'll bring an entire case. They have no intention on selling that. Me, all I did was have my bottom row of cards, right? So there was like 8 rows in my case. My bottom row of cards were kind of like my big boys, the ones that are behind me. If you're watching the video right now, like the LeBron rookie auto, the Ultimate Collection, the 1933 Gaudy Babe Ruth, the Wilt Chamberlain rookie, the 82 All-Star Hulk Hogan on-card auto, like things like that are my true PC that I have no intention in moving. So I had that in the bottom row, and then from there had a little bit of NBA. I was pretty wrestling heavy. And it's weird because I'm someone that over the last 12 months, I've probably set up, I would probably say, at about 15 to 20 shows. And the beautiful thing about setting up and doing shows, right, especially of the national magnitude, but I'm just saying at shows in general, is it really allows you to turn over your inventory and reinvent yourself as a dealer. Now, I don't really look at myself as a dealer, right? I'm definitely a collector. I'm a podcaster. But as you guys know, part of the reason why I started setting up at shows to begin with was because I was like, I'm throwing myself in this hobby. I've never set up before, but I really want to like get content for the podcast. And I felt like I didn't know if I would have anything to talk about on the podcast. Now here we are, episode 91, National 2022 recap. I think I found some things to talk about, right? But so the cool thing about setting up is that you can really kind of turn over what your inventory is, right? Like, and you can kind of reinvent yourself, and you can kind of be that guy, or you can be this guy. I can remember 6 to 9 months ago, at shows, people would always comment on my wrestling, but before you knew it, all my wrestling was sold out, and all I really had was my PC stuff. And then, I've really been getting into the vintage heavy. You guys know I love vintage. I have a passion for vintage. So I have my PC vintage, but I also have some inventory vintage. So I've had people come and buy my entire case of vintage out. I could remember going to, it was I forget the exact name of the show, but it was in New York State probably about 6 to 8 months ago. It's where the East Coast National is. It wasn't the actual East Coast National, but it was still massive, 400 tables. It was huge. It almost felt like a national, to be honest with you. And I remember someone came up and he just looked at all my vintage. He was like, "Oh, so I want to buy all your vintage. Would you do 75% comps? And if you would, then we can sit here and do the math on it and really take our time." And I did that, and we did that. So setting up really allows me to do that. So, but I've been getting a lot more into wrestling lately, and I feel like I've discovered this new part of the hobby when it comes to wrestling cards, and that's modern wrestling. So I've been buying up now that Prism, the WWE Prism, now that like all that hype has kind of cooled off and the prices have come down big time. I've been buying up a lot of that stuff because it's cool stuff. So I had my bottom row, all my goats, my PC stuff that I'm not moving. Then above that, I had some NBA. Above that, I had some wrestling. Above that, I had some vintage. And then sprinkled in here and there, I had some random autographs. So that was about it. And so I get my station set up, and Nick from Slab Exchange, he's the Probstein, he works at Probstein. He said, "Listen, man, hey, where's Amil?" Because he knew my partner on the bounce, Amil, was coming. I said, he doesn't have a dealer badge. He's not going to be able to get until 10. He goes, "Dude, take my dealer badge. Tell him to come in. Go, give him a call." I'm like, "Dude, really?" He's like, "Yeah, absolutely, man." So I call up Amil. I said, "Yo, get down here now. You can come in early if you want." He said, "Absolutely, I'm coming." So went out there, grabbed him. It's crazy because I know I have a lot of listeners on Sports Card Therapist. We have a lot of listeners on the bounce. And I think most of you guys know that even though Amil and I are going on about 35 weeks of doing this podcast, 35 weeks of doing the bounce, him and I have never actually met in person. So I feel like I know him better than I know some of my close friends in some respects, because I've spent so much time talking to Amil face to face. So it's one of those things. So I finally see Amil. We greet each other. We embrace. Give each other a big hug in the lobby. We go in there. He was setting up with me, and so which was cool because I've been out to shows before, right? I set up at shows. I love going to shows. I love meeting listeners, and I feel like getting that positive feedback about the podcast, for me, that's what it's all about, right? Like for me, that's absolutely what it's all about. It feels amazing to get that. And I truly wanted Amil to set up with me so that he could get a taste of that. So he could really get some of that love. So I gave him some space in my showcase, right? In my showcase, and he put his cards in there, and we're just kind of like, "Wow, dude, we're here, we're doing this, we are doing this, man, this is awesome." So here we are, and we are just about to start. We're snapping some pictures, we're having some fun, just kind of laughing, doing all that stuff. My buddy Ken is there. I have multiple friends that we're set up with from Connecticut that are kind of walking around, joking around. And so one thing I did was I actually printed out 100 cards, 100 cards of with Amil and I. So they were going to be like the bounce cards, numbered out of 100. The day before, I sat at home, numbered every single one out of 100, and I posted them on my Instagram. And I said, "Guys, come by the booth, say hi, and grab a card." Basically, I had no idea if like people would think that was stupid, lame, awesome, cool, whatever the case. But doors open, people start trickling in, and people start asking us for the cards. They're asking us to sign the cards. It was really cool. It was super humbling. It was like almost kind of like embarrassing because I'm like, I know we're not actually this big, but people wanted them, so I thought that was awesome. That's really all I'll say about that. But so yeah, start the show started out, I would say, kind of what I expected and what I had been hearing. And I'm not sure if you guys know this, but we are in a recession in this country. That was a joke. because I'm pretty sure everyone knows that. I'm pretty sure if you're listening to this, you know that the card market has continued to adjust and normalize itself and get back down to a healthy market. But what that means is stuff has been down for the last 6 to 9 months, right? So it kind of looks like Mount Everest in a way, right? Like this big slope on the left going up, and then it reaches its peak, and then all of a sudden it starts going down. So I think what happens at National, what happens at these shows, because I'll tell you, early on, for as busy as it was, it felt like deals were slow. Deals were slow to come. And I think that's because what people do, and it's smart, what they do is they walk around and they look at tables, they try to find cards that they like, they try to find maybe some deals, but they don't pull the trigger on anything because they want to see what else is in the room. They want to make sure they're not overpaying for a card, and then an hour later they see the same card on the other side of the room for 20% less. Another thing, I'm sure you guys heard about this, right? All people were talking about this was on Instagram. It was like everyone was like complaining, talking about it. There was almost no internet there. There was almost no internet. It was almost impossible to get a signal. It was almost impossible to log on to the Wi-Fi. And I think that is something that does need to be addressed. I think that needs to be addressed next time, because I heard stories, and I didn't hear a ton of stories about this, but I did hear of people overpaying for cards because they didn't know about the comps. And I think like the hobby purist in me would say, well, and I'm going to tell you about how I overpaid for a card actually in a little while. But I think the hobby purist in me would say, if you really wanted a card, you can overpay for it, right? But here's the thing: I want to knowingly overpay for a card. I don't want to not know I'm overpaying for a card and then find out when I get home. You know what I mean? Like, so that's totally different. So I think that kind of situation needs to get fixed. Um, because I think that the best kind of deals happen when everyone is on the same page and everyone is, a well-informed buyer and a well-informed seller, I think make for a strong transaction. So that's just what I'll say. So, but I think people are feeling out the room. People are feeling out the room. And a lot of people, I mean, probably at least half of the people that came up to my table, and there were hundreds, if not thousands of people that probably I interacted with on Saturday alone. At least half of them would come up and say, "Are you buying? Are you buying? Hey, are you buying? Are you buying?" And I've never seen it like that at a show before. But I think the reason why everyone wanted to sell their cards is because, just like me, just like everyone else, we're all chasing our grail cards, right? So if we're at National 2022 in Atlantic City, there's a good chance that my grail card is in that room. So I'm going to go with a box of my cards and I'm going to try to sell them so I can acquire my grail. Guess what? That's exactly what I did. The only difference was I was set up on the other side of the table as a dealer. But I'm not knocking that at all. I'm not knocking that at all. You know why? Because for me, there's some good opportunity there. For me, set up as a dealer, if someone's coming to me to sell cards because they really want money for their grail, guess what? There could be some good buying opportunities there. There could be some good buying opportunities for me. So I thought that was kind of cool. I want to give a shout out to some of the people that I saw, because there was just the place was just loaded with people. First of all, I'm going to get to, a lot of things, but I'm just going to kind of go from here. So big shout out to the card ladder guys. Josh Johnson, I saw him multiple times, man. He was really working the room, walking around. He told me he was moving cards, buying cards. So shout out to you, Josh. And then a few hours later, Josh came back and he brought Chris from Card Ladder. So Chris, he stopped by. That was great to see him. Oh man, John Newman, Sports Card Nation. Shout out to you, John, man. Just a phenomenal guy, man. I saw John multiple times on Saturday. He came bearing gifts. That's what I'll say. He came bearing gifts. So he brought multiple gifts. He's just one of the nicest guys in the hobby, man. He has been doing this forever. forever. He's been doing this podcast. He's been, in the hobby. I had him on my podcast a month or two back. Just great guy, great guy. Shout out to Jeremy Lee from Sports Card Live, man. Saw Jeremy Lee, had a great time kind of just chopping it up with him, great time chopping it up with him. Was able to get pictures with a bunch of these guys. Yeah, man. Shout out to my guy, Sports Card Nobody. Shout out to you, man. Looking forward to doing something with you. Sports Card Nobody podcast. Looking forward to doing something with you in the very near future, man. We had some great conversation as well. So yeah, Mama Breaks. Shout out to Mama Breaks. Had a great conversation with her and Papa Breaks. That was cool. Yeah. So many listeners, hundreds of listeners just kind of coming in and really just in a really cool way. And I say this as humbly as I can, but just, giving myself and giving Amil, giving us our flowers for as far as just, all the content that we put out. And, just people just saying, man, listen, you get me through my commute. Oh man, I've learned so much. Coming up and saying, I love looking at your case, Rob, because I followed your entire story. I followed your entire journey, and I know where you've come from, where you are now, and where you want to go. And to look in this your case truly tells a story. And that was really cool. So yeah, let's talk about some deals. Man. So if you are watching on YouTube, I'm going to show you a couple cards, talk about some of them. So before I even left, the week leading up to National, I had made a deal with Drake, from Drake's PC. He was on the podcast, this last month. Mindset of the Collector, I believe, was the name of the episode. And good dude, big Peyton Manning guy, big wrestling guy. We actually struck a deal for the 2015 Topps Chrome Hulk Hogan on-card auto Pulsar refractor. Look at that thing. That thing is absolutely beautiful. It just came back from grading, from PSA. That thing is unbelievable. So, and shout out, I don't know the guy's name. This guy comes up with his wife. He's wearing all Boston gear, and he comes up and he looks at my case and he goes, "Wow, you absolutely have the best Hulk Hogan collection here at National." I go, "What?" He goes, "Absolutely, man. Look at this Hulk Hogan collection. It's great." I go, "Can you say that one more time? Can I get that on camera?" I recorded him saying it and posted it on my Instagram. I tell you why, man, because I've talked about it. I would love to throw my name in that circle of, I would love to be a top 10 Hulk Hogan collector in the world. I would love that. I think, one of my next chase cards, it has to be the Hulk Hogan PMG. The Hulk Hogan PMG. Not many people have it. The only person that I know of that has one is Jeremy Lee, and I already reached out to him. He said he's holding on to it, but that Hulk Hogan PMG, I would love that. Don't ask me why. But picked up a couple wrestling cards, man. I got them for the right price, and they're probably going to be PC, except for this first one, because I have no emotional tie to it. But got this Bret the Hitman Hart on-card auto, 5-Timers Club signed auto, and he signed it in pink marker. That thing looks awesome. If you know anything about Bret Hart, pink and black are his thing. So got that. That was pretty cool. Now, on Wednesday or Thursday, Ken, Sports Card Lessons, reached out to me and said, "Hey, any interest in this card? This guy just came. I don't want it, but he's looking to move it." I gave him your information. Long story short, I messaged back and forth with him on Instagram. We really didn't come to a deal. And then he showed up to my table on Saturday. He said, "Hey, I'm the one you've been talking to. Do you want this card?" Shout out to Joe Montana 16 Collector on Instagram, because I ended up acquiring this. It is a 2015 Topps WWE Hulk Hogan Tribute Gold. And it's a picture of him at WrestleMania fighting the Ultimate Warrior. And this is gold. And this is 10 out of 10. 10 out of 10 gold. Look at that thing. Oh my God. I mean, so I'm talking about being a Hulk Hogan collector and trying to throw my name in that ring. Guess what? Got a couple really cool Hulk Hogan cards in the last few days. I got a gold, then got a Pulsar on card auto refractor. So I'm feeling good about that, man. I'm feeling good about, just if my name could get, if I can be thought of or my name could get brought up when the Hulkster gets brought up, I'll be happy with that, man. That's childhood right there for me. So my cards were pretty much priced right around comps. Some stuff I might have been a little high on, some stuff I was low on. And if people are high on their cards, here's the thing, I can understand why. And I'm looking at this from a dealer's perspective, not a buyer's perspective. Okay. From a dealer's perspective, if I'm high on my cards, first of all, you have no idea what I bought that card at. I could be in over my head. I can be upside down on almost every single card. And there's no way I'm going to take a loss on these cards. Now, I'm not saying I won't take a loss on cards because I've talked about how I am willing to take losses on some of my cards because a lot of times I feel more confident with having cash now than the market going back up. You know what I mean? I feel more confident about my I have more faith in what I can do with cash than, maybe having faith in that specific card recovering. So, but I can understand why some dealers would not want to. Like if you're LeBron heavy, I can understand not being at comps. LeBron is down. Also, to set up at National is very expensive. To set up at any show is expensive. You have to realize, like, and don't get me wrong, I know some of these smaller shows, these small local shows that have like 30, 40 tables, they cost what, maybe $30 a table, right? So that's not much. But you're talking National, you're talking a couple grand for the week, a couple grand. So if you are coming to me expecting to buy cards lower than comps, meanwhile, I'm already a couple grand in the hole just for travel expenses, setting up at shows. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying to feel bad for dealers or anything because they sign up for that, right? But at the end of the day, really, people could price their cards at whatever they want to price them at. You know what I mean? Like if they want to be high in their card, they could be high in their card. I think as long as you're upfront about that. If someone comes to me and they're like, hey, how much for that card? If I'm high on it, before I even tell them my price, you know what I say to them? I say, I'm high on it. Just let you know. And then I'll say, I want 1,700 at last comp was 1,450. So I have no problem with people when they're high on their cards. It's when, if they're trying to do it in a deceiving manner, or they're just being a jerk about it, you can miss me with that. But from a buyer's perspective, because I've gone to National as a buyer as well, and from a buyer's perspective, I need to realize that I can be hopeful that I'll find my Grail card or really, really good high-end cards or whatever I'm looking for. I can be hopeful that I'll find that cheap because I know the best dealers in the world are there. So I can be hopeful that I'll find it cheap. But I need to realize all those things that I just talked about that a dealer has to deal with. So there's a much better chance I'm probably going to find the best price on eBay. So if I'm going to National as a buyer, I'm going for the experience. I'm going for trade night. I'm going to maybe try to trade with dealers because, like I've talked about, what happens when the market is down? Same thing that happens when the market is up, right? Like I don't want to sell my card for a massive loss, but if my card is down and you have a card that I want and that's down, then I'll trade with you because to me that's even and I'm not really losing then. So, so most of my sales for the day were actually coming from my bargain boxes. Now my bargain boxes are popping. Let me just say that, man. I have some incredible bargain boxes always. I had in my bargain boxes, it's anyone that comes up, I'm like, listen, make me an offer. I'm trying to get rid of all of it. Low ball me. I tell them, I'm like, low ball me, and it would kind of get a kick out of it, but that's my way of letting them know, like, I want to move this stuff. So, I have everything from Josh Allen autos, Mac Jones base cards. I'll have like 50 Mac Jones base cards just like in there, all individually priced. Boom, 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 boom. And, National Treasures cards. And I'm just like, anything basically that I don't want in my one main case, I'll throw in the bargain box and tell people, listen, make me an offer. And I was taking offers of 60% of what I had it priced at all day long for the bargain box stuff. So the bargain box stuff was moving. So at that point, I had probably made a few grand in sales, right? Made a few grand in sales. And a guy I was set up next to, I wasn't set up with him, but I was set up next to him. So he was working with Ryan from Reservoir Sports Cards. This guy, I think his name was Chris. So this guy, Chris, first thing in the morning, before the show even started, right in front of me, like literally right at my table, sells a 52 Topps Mickey Mantle PSA 2.5. And just, they were working out a deal. The first deal just was not working out with my guy, Basketball Card Paradise. And they were working on a deal, just it didn't seem like they can get it done. And then like 2 minutes later, I guess the guy Chris ended up selling it to someone else that was another dealer. But I was like, man, I don't know what he moved it for, 40, 50, 60K, whatever he moved it for, but I wish I had that money now. It seems like the two hottest, most talked about cards at National, without a doubt, were the 52 Topps Mickey Mantle and the 1984 Star Michael Jordan True Rookie. Those were, without a doubt, have the biggest buzz in the hobby. The 52 Mantle, because that SGC 9.5 is up for auction right now on Golden, and that Star card, because obviously PSA started grading that, so everyone in the hobby has been talking about the Star card. So anyway, so the guy Chris who sells the Mantle, he looks over to me, he's like, hey Rob, or therapist, I forgot what he called me. He's like, hey, you interested in this? Because he saw I had a bunch of vintage in my case. So I go, yeah, let me check it out. So this guy comes up to my table. Right, comes up to my table trying to sell cards. He's got 4 cards. I forget what one of them are. They're all 52 Topps. First one, Mickey Mantle, PSA 4. He wanted 100K, out of my price range. Next one was a Jackie Robinson, PSA 5. Wanted 20K for it. Third one was a 1952 Topps Willy Mays. Yes, that's right. So he wanted 8,500 for that. 8,500, right? So I'm like, 8,500. I'm like, that feels cheap. It was a PSA 5. So I look up the comps on it, and the last comp on it, I believe, was 13.5. So in my head, I'm like, this guy's asking 5K below comps, 8,500. But here's the thing. The Willy Mays, and I took a picture of it. I don't know if I'm going to put it in my YouTube video. I would, but I didn't even buy the card. I have no I don't have the card. So, and it takes too much sometimes to edit this stuff. But so the Willy Mays PSA 5 comps at 13.5. He only wanted 8,500 for this card. Here's the thing, though. It wasn't perfectly centered. It was far right, almost to the point where it could have been. It could have gotten that PSA qualifier of OC off center or MC miscut. I think it would have been an off center. Now, as you know, when there's a qualifier, usually that'll drop the comp grade kind of down 2. So then a PSA 5 would almost comp at like a PSA 3. But the thing is, this did not have a qualifier on it. It was a PSA 5, but it was off-centered. So he said, I want 8,500 for it. I said, I'm interested in this. He said, okay. So I ended up giving him 2K cash and 6,500 in trade. 2K cash, 6,500 in trade. I got that for $8,500. There was a guy standing right there watching the whole negotiation, saw the whole thing go down, knew exactly what I paid for it. I took the Willy Mays card from the guy, shook his hand, said, thank you, good deal, put it in my case. The guy that watched the whole thing go down goes, hey, is that Willy Mays available? I started laughing. I started cracking up. I thought he was joking for a minute because he saw like he just watched the whole thing go down. I thought he was joking. I go, I just got it. He goes, yeah, but is it available? Like if you had an offer on it, I go, yeah, sure, make me an offer. He goes, hold on, I'm gonna call my friend. He calls his friend on the phone. Within 30 seconds, his friend comes over and goes, what's the best you could do on the Willy Mays? So knowing what I know about the PSA 5 comp, because I just had it, I pull out my phone. I go, look, Card Ladder has this value a little bit over 14 at a PSA 5. Last comp was 13.5. He goes, I'll give you 12 cash. I said, deal. I had that Willy Mays card for 30 seconds, and I made a $3,500 flip right there. So there I am. At that point, I probably have about 15K in my pocket. I'm feeling good. I've already bought a few things here and there. 15K about in my pocket. So an hour or two goes by, and about an hour before the show ends, I hear, yo, therapist. I turn around. He's like, yo, this guy wants to talk to you. So they go, there he is right there. So the guy is like, oh, okay. He walks over to my table, comes around and goes, hey, I heard you might want to buy my Bill Russell rookie. I'm like, what? I go, who told you that? He goes, oh, my buddy Cody. My buddy Cody. And I go, and Cody, he goes by Masty Cards on Instagram. Masty with an M _cards. So he goes, oh, my buddy Cody told me. So if you guys know, you listened to the podcast last week, right? I talked about how on Heritage, I went ham on Heritage, and I basically spent all of my national money because I bought a Bill Russell rookie, I bought a Willy Mays rookie, bought a Jordan 86 Fleer rookie, the Jordan 86 Fleer sticker, some Jordan star cards. I feel like I'm missing something else in there, but so I basically spend all my national money. So I know I have a Bill Russell rookie coming in the mail on the way here from Heritage at some point in the next week. But I don't have it in hand yet. And this Bill Russell, I've been chasing for so long, I feel like. I've been chasing this card for so long, for the last year. I haven't talked about it that much, but I've had it in my mind for the last year. And I have this big stack of money in my pocket, like 15K in my pocket, right? So I go, yeah, let me see it. So he's there with his son. Seems like a really nice guy. Takes the Bill Russell out. It's a PSA 4. PSA 4. So I look at it and I'm like, wow, that's a nice card. So I look up the comps on it real quick before we even start talking. I pull out my phone, look up Card Ladder, and in my head I'm like, wow, comps are down on this, I'm thinking, because I know for my SGC 2.5 I just paid high sixes. So I paid under $7,000, but it was high sixes for my SGC 2.5. It's all about centering, right? It's all about centering with vintage. So that's kind of what it is. So, and that SGC 2.5 is beautifully centered, the one I'm getting from Heritage in the mail. So I said, listen, last couple comps on this, I'm seeing right here. Pull out my phone. I show them my screen. I show them exactly what I'm looking at. Last two comps on a PSA 4 look like they were about 7,500 and 7,900. He goes, what? I go, look right here. So show him the Card Ladder app. Show him exactly what the Card Ladder value is on a PSA 4. He goes, I can't do that. I can't do that. I said, okay. I mean, it's what the comps are. That's what the comps are. I said, I really want that card, though. I would love that card. I would love to own that Bill Russell card. I said, I've been talking about it a lot on my podcast over the last year. So he said, I don't know. I said, listen, can you So we're just basically talking for like 10 minutes. Like no offers have really been made yet. So I throw out an offer. I said, listen, this is what I'll do. This is what I'll do. I'm going to offer you over comps on this thing. So right now Card Ladder has his value at 7,500. I'm going to offer you 6,500 cash and 2K in trade. That is a grand over comps. He's like, yeah, I think he said something like, well, I just really want the cash. Like, I don't want trade. I'm very particular about my taste. I just want cash. So I said, listen, I come up to 7 cash on it, 7 cash. He's like, nah, I can't do that. I said, listen, I'll do 7 cash and this Jackie Robinson right here is 1953 tops. 1953 tops. SGC 1.5. I think it comps. I think it had a price to 850. I think it comps around 750. I said I'll throw in that Jackie Robinson. So he said, "How about 7,500 in the Jackie Robinson?" I go, I feel like I'm firm at that $7,000 in the Jackie Robinson. So he's standing there for like 2 minutes in silence, just thinking. And I'm like, and so I say to him, I go, are we just sitting here in silence because you're thinking about that $500? Is that what's keeping us from making this deal, that $500? And I said that because I wanted to be sure what we were doing here, because if that's what it was going to take, I was willing to go up to that amount. I was willing to go up to asking value. But I wasn't inside this guy's head, but I could imagine what he was thinking. Here's what I think he was thinking. I think that he had a plan going to national. He was there with his son. I think he had a plan going to national, and he said, okay, I know I'm going to be able to move this Bill Russell. This Bill Russell, someone's going to buy it. My friend Cody already gave me a lead of someone that wants it. I'm going to go there, and I'm going to be able to go there with basically get a pocket full of money to spend here. I'm assuming, he didn't tell me this, but I'm assuming that he was thinking this card was probably still around 10 to 12K. 10 to 12,000. I think that's probably what he was thinking. So he's sitting here now, like in 2 minutes, just in silence thinking. And I would imagine he's probably like, okay, I've seen what the comps are, the last 2 comps, because there aren't many. There was, I think, only 2 public sales in the last 3 months of this card. So cards like this really don't sell. And that's the thing with vintage and more rare cards. A lot of times they just don't sell like that. So it really is kind of hard. It's kind of difficult to comp cards like this, especially since all grades are not created equal, and there's such an emphasis and a focus on eye appeal. So, and he's probably thinking like, okay, my plan was to come here and sell this card. Now that I kind of just got smacked in the face with what the last couple of comps are, here's Rob. Rob is literally willing to offer me over comps. He's offering me over comps. I would imagine he was thinking, okay, probably not many other dealers or anyone else here is going to offer me over comps for this card. So he said to his son, he said, what do you think? And his son, I think, was probably like 12. His son whispered to him, and his son whispered something to him, and he goes, yeah. He goes, how about this? I'll meet in the middle, 7,250 plus the Jackie. I stuck up my hand, shook it, made a deal. There it is. If you're watching on YouTube, there it is. 1957 tops, Bill Russell, rookie, PSA 4. This thing is unbelievable. Man, I look at this card, I feel like this could be a 5 or a 6. But so make the deal with him. I'm on cloud 9. And what's crazy is this, right? What's crazy is, if I didn't make that deal with that guy for that Willy Mays, if I was not able to think about that, I acquired that Willy Mays with like 80% trade and just a couple grand cash. I then turned around and sold that Willy Mays for like I don't know what 50% high. No, not 50%. I would probably say what 30% higher. I don't even know. I don't even want to do math now. But I made a good amount of money on that. So if it wasn't for that entire chain of events, I would not have acquired this. And then today, as I'm recording this on Sunday, July 31st, we were all hit with the news that Bill Russell passed away at the age of 88. And man, just like condolences to his family, to his children. But what a legend. He was the greatest winner in NBA history. 11 championships in 13 seasons. There's a reason I've been chasing this card. There's a reason. He had 2 cards during his playing years. That's it. So not only, and I remembered the card that I forgot that I said I was getting from Heritage, it was the 61 Bill Russell. So so I get this Bill Russell at National less than 24 hours before he passes. I think if this guy or if anyone knew that Bill Russell was on the verge of passing away, or if news had hit that he had passed away, there was no way I acquired this card. There's no way that guy gives up this card. And that's just sometimes what happens with these retired legends. And so not only do I have this PSA 4 Bill Russell, but I also have an SGC 2.5 57 Bill Russell on the way. Also, I have a 61 Fleer PSA 4. So I have matching PSA 4s of Bill Russell. Man, just unbelievable. So overall, the national experience was incredible. Filmed some content for the YouTube show. Most of the content is going to be basically centered around the bounce. So, I think most of my listeners, my weekly listeners, know that I have my other podcast. If you don't know if you haven't heard it, all you have to do is search The Slab Talk, The Bounce, and you will find it. You could type in Sports Card Therapist, Slab Talk, whatever it is you want to, however it is you want to find me. But this episode's going on 50 minutes already, almost an hour. I can't even remember the last time I did almost an hour-long solo episode. But National was everything I hoped it would be and more. There were a lot of people that I did not get to see, a lot of people that did not go, but there were a lot of people I did see. And you know what? That was really cool, man. That was really, really cool to see. And just, how humbling it was. How humbling it was to just like sign pictures, sign like these trading cards. I didn't think anyone would want them signed. So when people started asking, that was kind of cool. And then people went home on Instagram and started posting the signed cards or the cards that they got and tagging us in it. That was cool. So being able to repost those were pretty cool. Shout out to DJ Sports Cards, Almighty Collectibles 96, Extraordinary Cards, 740 Smith Cards. Let's see who else. So many people, man. Saw so many listeners. I'm just looking at people that had reposted some of the cards and stuff. Sports Card Nation, Mama Breaks, Cousin Collectibles, Kevin M. Cormier. So Kevin M. Cormier said something to me on Instagram that kind of made me sit back and just think about my journey in this hobby. And shout out to Kevin. Kevin came on the podcast last month, and he he's the Bo Jackson super collector. And so Kevin said, I'm trying to find it right here. He said in a comment, "Every time I came back to your table, it was nuts. You're officially an attraction." And man, talk about feeling extremely humbled about that, just feeling like, because it did, there were times where it felt like people were there kind of just hanging out because they wanted to talk. And that was awesome. I had zero issue with that. I had did I miss a few sales because of that? Did I miss maybe a few purchases because of that? Maybe, but that's all good. I'm fine with that. The fact that I was able to sit there with Amil and talk to listeners and just have people reach out to shake our hand and say, guys, love the pod, man. Keep it up. Love what you're doing. Love what you're doing. Um, that was really amazing. And one last thing, I think I want to give a shout out to, I won't discuss the contents of what he said, but um, I want to give a shout out to Michael Golden. Michael Golden, he's a listener of the show. And man, Michael Golden handed me a letter. He handed me a letter, a handwritten letter. And inside it, he had a Mickey Mantle card. So inside it was a Mickey Mantle card. It wasn't anything crazy. It was from like a 1977 set, But he said, enclosed is a little something, nothing big, a 77 Namada Galasso Mickey Mantle from my childhood collection. But so that was amazing that he gave me like an old Mickey Mantle card from his childhood collection. But the amazing thing is in this letter that he wrote me, it was an incredibly emotional, thought-provoking letter. The letter that he gave me was just talking about life and family and things that I've really barely touched on this podcast. You have to really listen to the podcast and hear maybe when I discuss like my childhood, or I discuss like who some of my idols were, like family and in life wise, and he was able to touch on some of that stuff and told me about how he identified, and that was incredible, man. So I think those are the moments, the people coming by and just shaking our hand and saying, dude, keep doing what you guys are doing. The moments like that with Michael Golden giving me that letter, and the mantle from his childhood collection. And don't get me wrong, acquiring the Bill Russell was amazing, but I think it's how I acquired it that was so amazing. I think it's the fact that there was a listener that knew I've been going after this card for so long. And then he had a friend that was willing to move it. And he said, you know what? I actually know a guy that wants one. Here's where he is. He's at National only on Saturday. Here's his table number. Go see him. It's the connection. It's the relationships like that really blew me away. And one last thing. Last year at National, when I went there as a buyer, the biggest pickup that I made that blew me away, and I talked about this on the pod. You can go back to last year, exactly a year from now, in the episode I dropped. It was probably like episode 6. One of the pickups I made was a Bill Russell Topps Chrome Auto. How cool is that? Bill Russell, man, a legend. And I guess that's it, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. 53 minutes in. I have no idea how many of you guys are still listening, but if any of you are, I appreciate you very much. I hope to see you soon. I hope to see you at a show. I hope to hear from you on Instagram. Just, keep doing you. Keep collecting, because it's you that's keeping this hobby alive. Me doing this podcast is not keeping this hobby alive, but you, the listener or the watcher, that is continuing to collect regardless of what content you're consuming. If you are continuing to collect and put back into this hobby, you are what's keeping this hobby alive. So thank you. Take care of yourself and your collection. Have a good one.